Hey everybody, Steve Biederman. I'm excited to have this series going on with you. It's a little different than last year's series, and again, my enthusiasm is just driving me nuts here, and I'll tell you why. The reason is everywhere I go, whenever I talk to people in groups, whenever I read things on LinkedIn, and whether I look at YouTube for business ideas, there's such a happy, feel good feeling. And that people talk about the events that trouble them in such a winning and positive way that I say to myself, was that my experience? And the truth of the matter is, much of it was not my experience. I had a lot of trial and a lot of problems as I got through day by day, stage by stage in my career. And there was never anybody to help me. And the value of things like social networking, LinkedIn specifically, is that there are messages going out. You can look at them all the time that give you good advice, the best of advice in terms of what you're facing and if somebody else has faced it and how their experience may be able to benefit you. And at the end of it, though, you always hear how wow, how wonderful, how exciting business is. But I'm here to tell you it's not always wow, it's not always wonderful, and it's certainly not always exciting. It can be late nights, it can be all nights, it can be fear of making payroll, fear of not having money, great ideas with no resource to pull it off. And there's a whole nother side to business that you don't see people talking about enough. And if you're going to be successful, you better be prepared. Now, don't use the stories that I give you and the fragility of some of the situations that it creates as a reason not to go for your dream. But remember, it's not all happy, happy, happy. I'm going to talk today about a really important topic. It's the CEO God complex. Unmasking top-down tyranny. Let's talk about this because, frankly, this is what many people working face. And if you're striving to be a leader, if you're trying to lead your own company, or if you're a leader within a company working for somebody at the top, you must understand what the real game is and what, in fact, you're going to be facing. I have worked in many, many environments, and in every single one of those environments, I've run into awkward situations. I'm going to tell you about some experiences I've had that really will kind of shake you up. And to me, though, those experiences taught me best how to present myself and project myself as a leader, how to recognize that management is not leadership, and leadership is certainly not management. And no one is perfect at everything, in spite of the fact that many authoritarian leaders believe they are the smartest people in every room. So let's talk about this. I can remember a time when I started in management and I had to present myself as a leader where I was scared to death. And the reason I was scared to death is, in retrospect, because I didn't know what I should present. I read about the idea that people feel as if they're an imposter. And boy, did I feel like an imposter. It's a funny thing. I worked hard to get to positions of leadership, and then when I got there, I didn't feel like I belonged. That's the reality of it. And that's not a blessing. That's a hard thing to face when people are coming to you and looking to you to give them advice and a sense of peace in what they're doing. But peace is really the answer, isn't it? You try as a leader to create a sense of calm and orderliness so that there is less disruption and things can get done. So, where does an authoritarian leader fit in? Well, look, in many ways it works. You know, back in the 40s and the 1950s and the 1960s, large corporations were driven by a very regimented approach to business, strong hierarchically, and you had the head of the business, and then there was everybody else. And even the management team that worked below that CEO were just everybody else. And it really was based on the concept of what that person's personality was. So if they were an introvert, it was very hard to succeed, because if you were an extrovert, it may have offended that leader. Alternatively, the same thing. So what happens when you do have an authoritarian leader? It puts a hell of a lot of pressure on an organization to get into alignment. And the benefit of some of it is people do often get into alignment. The problem, though, with everyone, in a sense, being forced into alignment is that they don't always agree. They don't necessarily want to be in alignment. And there's a whole nother part of them that has not bought in. So one of the keys when you have this strong, dominating leader, that it's that person's way or the highway, is that if you're out of alignment with them, but you're pretending to be in alignment, inevitably what's going to happen is that organization is only going to get 50% of you, 70% of you, or 10% of you. They're only going to get the facade of you and not the reality of you. So, my position is pretty straightforward. An authoritarian leader gets an appearance of really alignment, but at the end of the day, they're completely out of alignment. And then there's no ability, communication-wise, to be able to work through the misalignment and getting into the organization the right way. Now, a lot of organizations, what they'll do is they will hire and fire and hire and fire and get rid of everyone that they interpret as being out of alignment until they feel they have built their team, and that team meaning they're going to be able to work in the environment that that leader, that authoritarian leader, projects. They can also just take the air out of the room. Do you like it when people are forcing you to do things, telling you what to do, demanding? Even when they're right, even when those people, those leaders are correct in what they're telling you, what does it make you feel like? Does it make you feel empowered? No, it doesn't. So the strength of an organization with an authoritarian leader oftentimes ends up where it's the power of one. So you have tens and tens or hundreds or more of people working there, but all those people are doing is, in a sense, on an assembly line or turning screws, hammering things. But they're not thinking, they're not creating. There's risk to creation. There's risk because you may be out of alignment. And then there are methods from the top down to limit your ability to perform, except within the concept of one. And the concept of one, trust me, is almost never enough. Never enough. I want to bring some thoughts to you. Let's break down this myth. Why is it popular that people want to be in control at running an organization? It's popular because it feels strong. It feels good. The person feels entitled. But the great weakness with this is this. People that are authoritarian and they control the room, they control the environment, they control the air within and with outside of that room, build a group of people around them that become experts, professionals at managing to convince that leader that they support that leader. Doesn't mean they do, but they're very professional and good at convincing them. So what that leads to is this: if a leader has an idea and it's mediocre, but they bring the idea up to the people that work for them, what is going to happen with that idea if it's not the best idea at all? What's going to happen is they're still going to validate that idea. They're still going to consistently validate, and my premise is mediocrity. And almost every authoritarian leader I have been around, or I have reviewed their organizations, or I have worked for, has built a really dependable, mediocre company. Look, a leader can be strong. A leader can have their strong opinions, and a leader can have charisma, and a leader can be convincing. But the point is, a leader is not always right. Oftentimes, at best, I'm half right, half the time. Half right, half the time. Which says to me that a leader of an organization should never be authoritarian. There is never a moment in time that that's okay, ever. What should happen is a leader should recognize they have to make sure they are running an organization that is optimal in performance and that is connected in every way and that bears the fruit of the whole and not the one single source, being the leader. Now, some of you are looking at yourself and saying, which one am I? Am I an authoritarian leader or not? Well, here's the truth. We're all a little bit of everything. And that brings in actually the reality of the situation. Don't ever decide that you're authoritarian. Don't ever decide you're never going to dominate a meeting. Decide on being you. Being who you are by knowing what you believe in and why you believe it. Express your beliefs to the group, but create and endeavor and work hard at enabling an environment where everybody's idea is impactful and beneficial, and that no idea, including my own or your own, is the one that's going to lead the way. Authoritarian leaders inevitably build mediocrity. They sometimes have savant moments that you get over a hill or you make a jump. But trust me, if I have an organization of 100 or hundreds of people, any one of those people will have their savants. And why would I want to rely on myself? So the charge for you, if you want to be a leader in any business that you have, no matter how stressed you are, is going to be this. You must be aware that it's the people that drive the outcome, not you. And that you are just helping them perform. Very much like a conductor in a symphony. But everybody has their part. And an average symphony only has average people performing in all of their separate work groups. But the best is when they connect together. And the leader can find methods and challenge themselves to enable that connectivity. But here's the thing. If you start out and you're looking at this and you say, I am sort of a dictator, and maybe that isn't who I should be, you can change. But there's something you have already built into that organization that will be hell to pay for you to get past it. And that is that you may be perfect for the next year and have built this great environment of connectivity and not have been authoritarian or the dictator or anything that at one time you may have been accused of or even accused yourself of. But the first time you lose your temper, the first time you lose control, everything you did in that last year is going away. Trust me, it's leaving. And now you even have a bigger hole, because now not only were you an autocrat that became fun to work with and exciting and a part of the group, but you're not trustworthy because no one knows when you're going to lose it. It's been one of my problems in my career is I can be very complimentary to everything going on and just be one of the many cogs in this wonderful machine that can build a passionate environment. But when I lose control, when I lose my brain, and when I do it, I believe that I'm in charge and it's my way, I lose everyone. And I lose everyone hard. And it's a lifelong challenge for those in leadership positions to recognize that they don't just get to be how they want to be in every given moment, but they need to understand that they can be who they are if they know what they believe in and they share what they believe in to others. And then from that, they can inevitably become the greatest of enablers. And the best CEOs are the greatest of enablers. I'll give you some stories of things that I have seen in my career. Here's one story. I walked into this organization, and when I walked in, I was asked to come in and to help fix some problems. And one of the things you could feel when you walked in was it was a bit schizophrenic, or maybe I would call it bipolar. There were just fun upsides, and the CEO that was in that business could be gregarious and pumped and outgoing and loud and even excessive in flattery of other people. And then there were other times that you would walk in and it was like you could cold. It was like an ice cube. And so I saw this and I started to talk to people and find out a little bit about the history of the culture and what had gone on. So apparently about a year and a half before I was asked to come in, they had hired a CEO. And that CEO was still there at that time that I came in. And the first day that that CEO walked in, they had a conference room meeting with all of the different managers and all of the executives. And it was about 25 people in this large conference room. And this guy was introduced. We'll call him Bob, not his real name. And Bob went around the room and asked people, tell me what you do, tell me what your job is, and they went around. And inevitably, every single person said something about what they did, non-controversially. And Bob would then say, how do you like working here? And as each person answered it, and they were feeling enabled, they answered it as honestly as they could. They weren't sucking up yet to Bob. This person made sort of a sarcastic comment about it. Not deep, not hard, not mean, but sarcastic. So you went around the room, everybody talked, and by the end, as people were giving what they felt, they were giving less than the first 10 people. And already within the first half hour or hour of this person's arrival as a new and game-changing CEO, people changed their behavior. It was that quick. Then, the next meeting, they had a sales meeting. And a salesman spoke up and was sort of not in alignment with what was going on. But honestly spoke up about his feelings about something. And this Bob swore at him, told him to get the F out of that room, and that would not be tolerated. And proceeded after that to have a group lunch where he was gregarious and fun and in control. So no kidding, I was asked to come into the company to fix things. But it was pretty easy to see what needed to be fixed. Bob needed to leave. Bob needed to leave. Bob was a strong personality and had come from a lot of valued experience. But Bob, the top position in that company, scared the hell out of everybody. And they didn't trust him because he was either upbeat, where it was such a relief that he was upbeat that people got loosey-goosey, and then at the same time, he was in these moments of intense anger. I'll tell you another story. I've always had an anger problem. Not consistently, not ongoing, but out of the blue kind of moments. I blame it on my dad. He did that to me. No, I own it. Anyway, I can go for long periods of time just feeling, as I said earlier, a part of the culture and a part of the environment, not setting everything in motion, just ensuring everything stays in motion. But every once in a while I would lose my temper. I was very proud of myself, and I had gone like 2 years not losing my temper. I actually thought it was behind me completely. I got on a phone call with someone. I lost my head. My door was closed. I yelled, I screamed, I swore. And I was so mad that I walked out finally after I was off that call just to get out of my office, and you could feel everybody was ice. This loud and fun and intense and communicative environment was completely cold. I didn't even get angry at anybody there. My anger had nothing to do with anybody working in that environment. But it affected everything in that environment. And I will tell you this. It took, maybe I never got over it, but it took at least a year or more to get back to a sense that people trusted me enough to trust the environment they worked in enough to become capable of performing to their highest level. And honestly, I can't tell you I was better than others because I wasn't. But I can tell you that the next generation of people that are leaders that are watching this need to understand that you have to stay in management mode when you're managing. And a leader is always a leader, even when they're behind closed doors. So what works better in this healthy leadership practice? Does it work better to just let's kumbaya, let's have everybody join together, let's play games together? My world is I don't buy into those things. Sure, games are fun. Sure, there's time to go have a picnic. I'm not against those ideas. But I don't want an environment where I'm having to overlay tactics constantly in to prove to people that this is a good place to work and a great place to become all the things you want to become. That's not my way, and I don't buy into it. My way is this. I am who I am. What you are hearing today with me talking is the same person I am when I'm leading a company. And I'm going to have deep and honest discussion with people. But it's not all going to be about me and what's in my head, or I am the solution provider. I am going to set the environment by setting the vision, and the vision has to do also with culture. And I'm going to put myself out there in a way to say, if I'm not succeeding at this culture, you need to let me know that. And when you let me know that, it's safe to let me know that. So how do you do that? First of all, you don't do it simply by always calling yourself out, because that is different than letting people call you out. And the best way that can happen, I find, is on one-on-ones. When I am on a one-on-one with people and I have to stay connected all the time, so I continuously meet with every type of a position within that company, I have real conversations with people. And I usually get down to some honest fact or two about myself. Not self-deprecating, not pretending, oh, I'm you too. I'm not you. You're not me. We're different. But I try to live my life in the business the way I live my life anywhere else that I am. Open, honest, clear, and allowing open, honest, clear in return. I can't teach you how to do that in this 1 to 20 minute talk, but I can tell you that that should be what you're learning how to do. Learn the craft and the skill of being open. I also do specific things to let people know that I have confidence in them and I trust them. And one of those things is I share outcomes. I share problems in a group, I share successes in a group, and I share real numbers in a group. So what will I do? I will go through financials with a group. I can do it with the entire company sometimes, or a smaller group. And I will put them out there and I'm going to say, I'm going to explain to you what I see here. I'm going to then explain to you decisions that I am thinking we need to make based on what I am seeing in the context I am seeing it in. And then I'm going to lay it to other people. Usually when you just say, tell me your feelings, how do you see it? Do you think these make sense based on the information here? They're not going to give you the truth because they're in a group and it's hard and they don't know if they can be safe or not, and they just don't want to sound stupid because, frankly, I have a lot of experience at it and maybe they don't. So I'll let them take it, and I'll let them take the information with them, which then shows I trust you with our data. You are no different than me. If you can trust me with data, I can trust you with data. So take that data home and think about what I said today. And here's again in summary what I said. And think about if you see it that way too, or where you think there's a flaw in what I'm talking about. Because at the end of this exercise, we're going to have to make some decisions. And if we can't make decisions, I'm going to have to make those decisions. And, then we're only the power of one. So take it home, and then you're going to need to have another meeting where you follow up with that. So what you're saying to people is this: look, I am here to make decisions, but only if the organization needs it, only if as a group we can't, and if there's a need to make a decision and no one else will, I will. And that to me is kind of the basis for how you want to go about walking away from being a dictator where it's just you and it's all about you and it's all about you and you and you and me, and instead it's all about us. So from you to me, go to us. Well, with that, I'm going to stop this for the day. I hope that gave you some information. Look, real strength in leadership is about vulnerability. It's about inclusivity. It's about openness. It's about reality. But it's also about maintaining your professional approach and not dominating people or pulling the I'm in charge card one too many times. And remember, we're never as good alone as we are with all of us. I look forward next time to talking to you about losing. Losing only teaches us how to lose. That's my premise. You take care. Bye-bye.